introduction of IPv6 is definitely connected with the creation of the certain task force in the country, and I think Ukrainian community should pay attention and try to create such structure. Questions, please. I have a kind of assumption that maybe these 13 13 entities stopped their operation, and their autonomous IP4 resources were either hijacked or transferred to somebody. That's what Marco was talking about. Maybe it's a possible option. Should be analyzed, taking into account our final presentation yesterday. Could have been the case. And the next brief presentation from Vadim Getmanshchuk, who will talk about the myth in CDN.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks for giving this opportunity. My report was initially very long, but we decided to create a light version, like a so it's going to be a very fast and delivery. Fastly is a company where I work. It's a CDN. I live in California. CDN is global, and when I found out that this conference would take place here, I'm actually Ukrainian national. I decided to come and tell you about CDN. Which one of you knows what CDN is? Who uses? Some of you do, okay. Briefly, what is this? It's a thing that makes your web page fastly loadable at your clients. Akamai invented this back in the day. They wanted to beat the speed of light by means of caching. This trick they invented, how they do that, and how the others started then replicating this experience. The users, first we see the geolocation of the user, we see where he came from and from which country, from which geographical location, and then we direct the traffic to the nearest point of presence, POP, where there are servers that would cache this traffic. This is done usually by several technologies, either by combination or DNS or Anycast, or both. Why is it needed? Because it fastens things, expedites things, but there's some other reasons which are not maybe that obvious, but they still are, and I would like to cover them a little bit. Firstly, of course, it's the latency, the time needed to connect the web server, and it's important because when you have one web page or have two web pages globally, and maybe your clients are global, so they're everywhere, and you need to deliver the content fast to them, regardless of where you are. If you have some kind of connectivity with the monetization of your web page, like announcements or anything like that, in order to make all this work, it must load quickly. If it loads slowly, then the users will try it and not come back to it again. Well, some might argue that we are like spoiled in America, and that customers actually don't return to slow web pages, and in Ukraine it doesn't happen like that. Well, you know, it's all about competition, because if the competitors have faster web pages, then the clients will go to them. Another reason is that your server is slow. It's not always bad. Sometimes your web page may be synthetic, may be every time you generate 20 developed databases, you know, and it makes the process slow, and the data must not be dynamic, like in the very essence of this word. The data must be objective, relevant, if the data is relevant, like on a daily basis, then you can do this daily. We've got big clients whose content basically is generated slowly, but it's all cached. Another reason when your bandwidth usage spikes, like DDoS is also another reason. But speaking about the bandwidth usage spikes, when you have some events, for example, the ENOG webpage, when there's a conference, well, it has more traffic. If there are no conferences or events, then of course there's not much traffic. Everything works quite quickly. Buying lots of traffic and buying lots of bandwidth, just keep it for nothing, it's expensive. And installing many services is also expensive if you have only peak loads at times. Or, for example, if you want to widen, to expand, and you want to do something with your service and you can't do it quickly, and like a little, maybe somebody doesn't remember how this works. If you have 200 milliseconds from Amsterdam to SSM, so then in 400 milliseconds something will start coming, and it's a slow start, TCP slow start. It's not the page will come, it just only start loading. With the CDN everything comes faster. If in CDN there's no such data, if CDN is correct, it can take this content and it can take it retrieve on the full speed. It will retrieve it faster, and it will load the page faster. So the win in terms of speed, the gain in terms of speed with CDN or no CDN, it's on the web, it's on the slide. And also it brings lots of gains in time. How it used to work back in the day, this is how it worked. It was a black box, not transparent. You couldn't manage the content. Everything was bad. All those who used this before, they just did it because they had to use it, and they couldn't go without using it. But no one really loved it. Today there are many improvements in the market, and what you should expect from CDN today, I mean, everything is happening in real time, or at least lots of stuff is happening in real time. You're sending content, you can cache things that maybe which were considered uncacheable back in the past if there's some dynamic contact. But as I said, many things can be cached for a certain period of time. Mainly, this is how it used to be before, and how it is now. You've got lots of dynamic content, and if you cache it, then you'll receive some kind of a gain in the performance of your web pages. All cool things that you can do it directly on the periphery of your content. You can manage. Here you do the geolocation, and it returns back immediately into the browser, so it doesn't go to your origin web page. This is how you can measure the CDN. There are various tools, even SEDEXes. It's some kind of a review CDN for a web page. The performances are compared there, dynamics are compared there. It's very interesting. The per country comparison is there. You can use the cache point, app dynamics, you can use many other things. I'd like to warn you, there's a thing which is called GMES. They also measure, but what they do measure, they measure the synthetic response inside the DNS. So this is not exactly what you might want to see. Well, that's it from my side. Thank you. Это было быстро. Как называют, наша компания называется быстро. Я говорил быстро, надеюсь. If you have any questions, then you can ask them now or later.